Morning, everyone. I wanted to do a part two to yesterday's video after a request from a few people in the comments. The biggest question was, what about the police if martial law is declared? Uh, Great question. So let's get right into it. Basically, if martial law were to be declared, the police no longer have any civilian authority. None. We could end it right there, but I figured you'd kind of all like some proof and some reasoning. Okay, so that's what I'm going to kind of get into. The only way the police or the sheriff is still in a position of authority if they're under is if they're under the control of a martial law commander in their area and have been federalized. Otherwise, they're a civilian just like any of us. Martial law, by definition, is putting the military in control of enforcing any and all laws. While some police officers, sheriffs, deputies may also be National Guard members, unless they're under the direct supervision of the military as a Guard member or as a federalized law enforcement officer, they have absolutely zero legal authority to enforce laws. Okay? That's basically due to the fact that martial law is declared when it's been determined that local authorities are no longer capable of keeping the peace. This, of course, doesn't happen often. Okay, just for example, the last time martial law was declared anywhere in the United States, excuse me, was December 1941 after Pearl Harbor was bombed. Contrary to popular opinion, we did not go into a martial law situation after Hurricane Katrina. Okay, that's a big misnomer out there. In Hawaii, the territorial governor had handed the government of the Hawaiian Islands over to the commander of U.S. forces. Martial law lasted for about 2 years until the threat of another Japanese attack was deemed unlikely. So, just so everybody understands this, martial law has not been declared anywhere in the United States for nearly 80 years. And while it's always possible, it's still a last resort for the government because basically, in order to get martial law established, local governments have to have admitted they failed the people. And honestly, when was the last time you heard a government official admit they failed at something? Okay. Now, obviously, there's a great disparity in the capacity of a police force. Okay. NYPD or LAPD is a much more monolithic entity than Barney Fife and the Podunk County Sheriff's Department. So you have to take your local area into consideration as to what you think the police response to martial law would be. But ultimately, the law is applied to the same to any law enforcement officer, regardless of their jurisdiction. Okay, so Barney Fife is susceptible to the same laws that, you know, Joe Beat Cop in New York is. Right? Most likely, because the military is now taking control of all aspects of law enforcement, and the police departments are now powerless, unless, of course, they get absorbed and federalized by the military. Officers are now civilians. Okay, the claim that officers will still do their job because they're in need of a paycheck is complete BS. All right, because if the military is in charge, law enforcement officers aren't getting paid anymore because their job has ceased to exist. Yeah, the unions will probably disagree, but to whom are they going to complain? All right, there is nowhere else. They're going to go to the military. Military's like, they work under us or they don't work at all. Okay. Also, because 99.9% of law enforcement officers are honorable people, yeah, I'm going to say that back the blue, okay, they will obey the oath they took. And I'm going to read this to you, okay? On my honor, I will never betray my badge, my integrity, my character, or the public trust. I will always have the courage to hold myself and others accountable for our actions. Note the on the public trust part. Okay. So, in other words, it's got to be, they've got to be doing what's in the best interest of the public. Finally, if shit does hit the fan so bad that martial law has to be declared, most law enforcement officers are going to be a lot more concerned about protecting their family and their property than writing tickets and chasing down looters anyway. After all, that's the Army's job now, right? Or martial law. Look at the bright side of things, though. Law enforcement officers will definitely be on our side, okay? Do you really think they're going to support the rioters and the anarchists in their own neighborhood? Don't think so, okay? Make friends with a cop or two. They're great allies in a shit hits the fan scenario. Okay, that's kind of the big point. Next thing I wanted to discuss are red flag laws. And Boy, is there a lot of misinformation out there. Even in the comments from yesterday, the people are talking about red flag laws are so wrong, it's unbelievable. Okay, so here's the truth to red flag laws. All right. First off, we have to discuss what states have red flag laws. Okay. California, Colorado, Connecticut, Delaware, the District of Columbia. Yeah, I know it's not a state. Florida, Hawaii, Illinois, Indiana, Maryland, Massachusetts, Nevada, New Jersey, New York, Oregon, Rhode Island, Vermont, and Washington. Okay. If you don't live in any of those states, don't worry. None of this applies to you as there are no federal red flag laws. Okay. There's not red flag laws in your state. There's no red flag laws. You don't have to worry about it. Can't do anything about it. Okay. Red flag laws are state laws that authorize the court to issue a special type of protection order, allowing the police to temporarily confiscate firearms for people who are deemed by a judge to be a danger to themselves or to others. Okay? Note the deemed by a judge in the court's part. This means a law enforcement officer or a military member absolutely cannot take it upon themselves to confiscate your weapons unless you are actively committing a crime. Okay? Having a pistol in your nightstand or a rifle on your wall is not committing a crime, depending on the state. Okay, New York, obviously, you had a pistol, it's not registered, it's a crime. Okay, pointing at your neighbor, here's the key, when the cop who witnesses it is. Okay, so no, your neighbor absolutely cannot call the sheriff, make an accusation, and the cops show up and confiscate everything. Doesn't work that way. Yes, your neighbor calls and makes a complaint, the cops will come, the cops will have to investigate, and then they will have to make a case in front of a judge to get a court order to seize your weapons. Okay? This is called due process. All right, it's pretty simple here, but amazingly, how many people don't understand this part? Now, this hearing is done ex parte. All right, and what that means is only the complainant, i.e., your neighbor or something in this case, has to make the case. Okay, you don't get your day in court yet. It's like any other temporary order issued. Now, the laws vary from state to state as to who can make a complaint to the court and how long the state has for you to plead your case. The ex parte order lasts for a minimum of 6 days in New York, or they have to take you to court, you have to have your day in court within 6 days, to a maximum of 21 days in California before the state's required to give you a hearing. So all these people that saying, oh, you're going to wait years and years and years and years to get everything back and it's going to bankrupt you, they're completely wrong. All right, New York, within a week, you are standing in front of the judge pleading your case. In California, within 3 weeks. Okay. If you win the case, this hearing, okay, your firearms are returned to you immediately. Okay. Obviously, they're not sitting on the bench there for the judge to hand them to you, but that day you're going to pick them up. Now, if you lose the case, of course, the ex parte order becomes final. But here's the catch. The duration of an ex parte final order also, or a final order also varies, okay? In most states, the order lasts for 1 year, okay? At that point, it either can expire or be renewed. In Illinois and Vermont, the final orders last for up to 6 months. In New Jersey, the final order lasts indefinitely, okay? Unless the individual whose gun was confiscated proves in a hearing that he or she is no longer a danger. So again, this is another one where everybody says, oh, you're not going to get your stuff back for years and it's going to bankrupt you. No. If you lose the hearing, if you are deemed a danger, depending on the state, not including New Jersey, in 6 months you have your firearms back. In other states, in a year you have your firearms back. That's how the law works, okay? Not any of this mumbo jumbo stuff that I keep debunking that people keep writing on websites, all right? Now, if you notice the list of red states that I read, or the list of red flag states that I read, are almost all blue states, okay, with the exception of Indiana and Florida. In Florida and Indiana, the only people that can file a complaint against you and request a court order for confiscation of weapons is a law enforcement officer, okay? Now, whereby in some of the other states, it can be a social worker, it can be family members, whatever, okay? But even then, in most of these states, like I said, blue states, okay, it's nearly impossible, or at least very difficult, to even purchase or own a weapon. So if you want to own a gun, why do you even live in those states anyway? All right. Bottom line is this: if you want to steer clear of violating any red flag laws, don't do anything stupid. Okay? I know that seems like a lot to ask people these days, but like anything else, if you can't do the time, don't do the crime. Okay? I hope this clears up some of the misinformation and fear mongering that's running rampant right now. I'm not a lawyer, I don't play one on YouTube, but this information is out there for anyone to research. Okay? The one thing I ask for everyone to do is do your own research. Don't take any words for it. For that matter, don't even take my word for it. Go out and look it up yourself. Okay? That way you can make an informed decision, figure out who the idiots are on YouTube, and stop all this BS from spreading all over the place. That's basically what I got for the morning. I wanted to follow up on yesterday. Everybody have a good day. Pinball out.